What would you do if three little girls, identical in pink dresses, alone in a hospital hallway, looked up at you with your own eyes? That's exactly what happened to Ethan Carter, a powerful millionaire CEO who thought he had his entire life under control, until one unexpected moment shattered everything. He came to the hospital for a routine business deal, but what he found instead was a haunting reflection of a past he thought was long buried and a secret that would shake him to his core. Who were these children? Why did one whisper, "You look like someone mommy talked about"? And why did the name Emily Parker, a woman he hadn't seen in 5 years, suddenly bring his world to a halt? This is a story of lost love, hidden truths, and a second chance at the kind of life money could never buy. Don't blink. The moment everything changes starts now. Ethan Carter didn't believe in fate. He believed in numbers and timing and contracts sealed over mahogany desks under the sterile glow of executive lights. He was the CEO of Carter Dynamics, a man whose time was worth more than gold, measured in seconds, profits, and leverage. That Thursday morning in Boston, the elevator doors opened on the 4th floor of St. Augustine Medical Center. Ethan stepped out, polished briefcase in one hand, iPhone in the other, already halfway through a call about a multi-million-dollar hospital expansion project. The boardroom down the hall was waiting. He didn't even glance to the left until something stopped him cold. 3 little girls. They stood outside the ICU wing side by side, motionless, except for the way their tiny hands clung to one another like life rafts in a storm. They were dressed identically in soft pink dresses, their blonde hair falling in uneven waves, eyes red from crying. And yet it wasn't their tears that struck him. It was the eyes of one of them, large, brown, familiar. Too familiar. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. The world so sharp and organized, seconds before blurred at the edges. The little girl was staring at him. Her gaze wasn't just curious, it was recognizing. He heard his assistant still talking through the phone in his ear, something about revenue projections. But he couldn't process a single word. His legs moved on their own. He walked toward the girls like someone approaching the edge of a cliff. "Hey," he said softly, crouching down to their level. His voice, so used to issuing commands, now trembled. "Are you 3 okay? Are you lost?" The tallest girl shook her head. "Our mommy's in there," she said, pointing weakly to the ICU. Her voice was hoarse. "They said we can't see her yet." Ethan glanced at the door. ICU room 402. No adults in sight, no staff checking on them. Just these 3 little girls left alone in the hall like forgotten luggage. "Is someone coming to pick you up?" he asked, already knowing the answer. The one in the middle, clutching a stuffed bunny so tightly it looked like it might tear, said in a whisper, "There's no one else, just mommy." The words hit Ethan like a sucker punch to the ribs. He looked at them again, all 3, and now he saw it. Not just in one girl, but in all of them, echoes of someone he hadn't seen in 5 years. The way the corners of their mouths curved, the curve of the eyebrows. Even the way one of them was nervously tugging at her dress reminded him of, no, it couldn't be. But then the smallest girl took a step closer, tilted her head, and asked in the quietest voice, "Do you work here?" He shook his head. "I'm just here," he replied, and realized too late how hollow that sounded. She studied him for a moment, then said something that changed everything. "You look like someone mommy talked about before." Silence. Complete, consuming silence. It felt like time had stopped. The words circled in Ethan's mind like sirens, taunting, teasing, daring him to put the pieces together. The hospital walls disappeared. The meeting didn't exist anymore. He was no longer the man with the briefcase and the portfolio. He was someone else. A man with 3 tiny mirrors standing in front of him, reflections of a past he thought he'd buried. "What's your mommy's name?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. "Emily Parker," said the one called Lily. The name slammed into him like a truck. Emily. Her. The woman he had once loved recklessly, then let drift away when life got too loud and ambition too greedy. She had vanished with no trace, no calls, no forwarding address. He had looked, briefly, and then he'd stopped. Now here he was, kneeling in front of what looked terrifyingly like his own daughters. But how? Why hadn't she told him? He stood slowly, his knees weak. The hallway suddenly felt like it was collapsing inward. He turned on, instinct stormed to the nurse's station. His voice was no longer soft. "There are 3 children alone outside ICU room 402, he said to the nurse, each word clipped and urgent. "They've been there for how long?" The nurse blinked, unprepared for the storm. "That's Emily Parker's room. The girls have been here most of the day. We're short-staffed and..." "They're 5, Ethan snapped. "And they're alone. We've contacted social services." "Don't bother," he growled, turning back toward the hallway. His hands trembled, not with anger, with something else. A sensation he hadn't felt in years. Responsibility. He returned to the girls. They had now sat down against the wall, still clinging to one another. He crouched again. "Emily and we used to know each other," he said. "Are you her friend?" asked Sophie, the middle one. "I think I used to be," he whispered. Lily, ever the brave one, looked up. "She doesn't talk about friends anymore. Just work and bedtime stories." He swallowed the lump in his throat. These girls weren't strangers. They were his unanswered question. And maybe, just maybe, they were his daughters. "I'm so sorry to pause the story right here, especially at this moment, but I promise it's for a good reason. Can you imagine what Ethan will do next? If you were in his position, would you stay or walk away? Let me know in the comments. Also, I'd love to know where in the world you're watching this from. And if this story moved you even just a little, please give it a heart and a like. It truly helps us continue bringing these emotional stories to life. Ethan Carter didn't sleep that night. Not a wink. Instead, he sat in the cold waiting room of St. Augustine Medical Center, staring at the closed door of the ICU, his mind unraveling faster than he could hold it together. The girls, Lily, Sophie, and Ella, had eventually drifted off beside him, curled on a hospital couch like a trio of fragile petals, pressed together for safety. One of them had fallen asleep holding his tie, and Ethan couldn't stop wondering, why didn't Emily tell him? Why had she vanished pregnant alone and raised 3 daughters without saying a word? He could still hear the sound of the youngest girl's voice. "You look like someone Mommy talked about." There were no coincidences in Ethan's world, only causes, consequences, decisions. And now he needed answers. The next morning, before the sun could crawl up Boston's skyline, he marched back into the ICU wing. Nurses shuffled by in silence. The monitors buzzed. And in room 402, behind layers of tubes and blinking lights, lay the woman who had once held his heart, and possibly his children. Emily looked smaller now, pale, still. Her body was alive but quiet, as if her spirit hadn't decided whether it wanted to return yet. He sat down beside her, unsure if she could hear, but unable to hold back. "I don't know what happened to you," he whispered, voice breaking, "but I think I finally understand what happened to us." He paused, staring at her hand, the same one that used to trace lazy circles on his back when they still shared a bed in that tiny New York apartment 5 years ago. He reached for it, now trembling. "There are 3 little girls down the hall," he whispered. 3. He swallowed hard. "They have your smile, but they have my eyes. Emily, I think they're mine." Her fingers twitched, barely, but it was there. A movement, a spark. Was it real? Ethan leaned closer, heart pounding. "If you can hear me, I'm not leaving again, not this time." Hours passed in a blur. He stayed by her side until visiting hours ended. Then he returned to the girls, still waiting, still brave, still clutching juice boxes and coloring books like they were shields from the world. The moment he walked into the room, Lily looked up. "Did Mommy wake up?" she asked. "Not yet," he said softly, "but she knows we're here." That night, Ethan took them to his penthouse condo, a space once built for silence and solitude, now echoing with soft footsteps and endless questions. "Why is everything so shiny?" Sophie asked, sliding across the marble floor in socks. "Do you have pizza?" Ella whispered, still holding her bunny. He let them sit on his designer couch with greasy hands. Let them bounce on a mattress that had never seen a wrinkle. Let them sleep huddled in the guest bed because separating is scary. And for the first time in years, Ethan laughed. Not the polite chuckle he reserved for board meetings. A real one. Raw. Unexpected. The next day, he returned to the hospital and asked for a DNA test. It wasn't about proof. It was about truth. Karen Miles, the social worker, didn't flinch when he explained who he was and what he suspected. She simply nodded, took his information, and said, "We'll rush it." But even before the test came back, Ethan knew. He saw it in how Lily took charge like a tiny general, in how Sophie side-eyed him when he fumbled with their lunch, in how Ella clung to her stuffed bunny, silent but always watching. He saw himself in all three. That night, as he tucked them into bed, Lily asked, "Did you love our mommy?" Ethan's breath caught. "Yes," he said finally. "Very much." "Do you still?" He hesitated, looked down at their tiny faces illuminated by the nightlight, shaped like a moon. "Yes. Maybe more now than ever." When the test results came 2 days later, Karen handed them over quietly, no drama. "You're their biological father," she said, but Ethan didn't even blink, because his heart already knew what the paper confirmed. That afternoon, as the girls napped in his living room surrounded by scattered crayons, puzzle pieces, and half-eaten cookies, he stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, phone in hand. His assistant picked up on the second ring. "Sir, we've got the rescheduled meetings starting. Cancel everything," Ethan said. "Everything?" "Yes," he replied. "Starting now." He hung up, closed his eyes, breathed, then turned back to the chaos that had become his world, and for the first time in his life, it didn't feel like a mess. It felt like home. I know. I hate to stop the story right here, especially when it's just starting to burn brighter. But I promise what happens next will surprise you even more. So tell me this, if you were in Emily's shoes, would you have told Ethan about the girls? And do you believe people truly change when love pulls them back? I'd also love to know, where in the world are you watching this from? And if this story moved you even a little, please don't forget to drop a heart and give this video a like. It helps more than you know. 12 days after Emily Parker was admitted to the ICU, something shifted. It happened just after sunrise, when the hospital was still hushed, when nurses moved like shadows and machines hummed like distant lullabies. Ethan Carter arrived as he did every morning, coffee in one hand, a folded drawing from the girls in the other. He wasn't prepared for what he saw. Emily's fingers moved. It was small, barely a tremble, but it was real. Ethan froze, watching her eyelids flutter like the wind was trying to wake her. He dropped the cup onto the tray beside her and leaned forward, heart pounding. "Emily," he whispered. She blinked slowly, like her mind was catching up with her body. Her lips parted. Her voice cracked and weak, barely made it past her throat. "Ethan, I'm here," he choked. "I've been here." Tears welled in her eyes before the confusion set in. Her gaze darted around the room, panic rising. "The girls, are they?" "They're safe," he said, grabbing her hand. "They're with me. They waited for you. Every day." That broke her. Silent tears streamed down her cheeks as she clutched his hand, like it was the only thing anchoring her to this world. For a long while they didn't speak. Words didn't matter. Presence did. Later, when she calmed, she whispered, "I didn't know how to tell you. I wanted to, but you were already living another life." "You should have told me," Ethan said, not accusing, just aching. "I would have come." "I was scared," she admitted. "Scared you'd feel trapped. Or worse, that you'd feel nothing." Ethan closed his eyes. The truth hurt, but so did the years lost between them. "I didn't know," he said quietly. "But the moment I saw them, I did." That night, Ethan brought the girls to the hospital. He didn't let them in the room yet, but he brought them close, just behind the glass. When Emily saw them, her hand flew to her mouth. Lily waved furiously. Sophie pressed both palms to the glass. Ella, quiet as ever, held up a drawing, 5 stick figures under a crooked sun with the word home scribbled across the top in big wobbly letters. Emily wept. Ethan did too. In the days that followed, Emily's recovery moved like a slow tide. She could speak, sit up, laugh softly, cautiously, but each small step was a miracle. The girls were allowed short visits. They never overwhelmed her. They just were. Lily asked questions. Sophie brought stories. Ella simply held her mother's hand. One evening, as the girls colored quietly in the hospital lounge, Ethan sat with Marissa, the social worker, by the window. She handed him paperwork. "If Emily agrees," she said, "this would grant you temporary custody until she fully recovers. It's not just about legality, it's about stability." Ethan didn't hesitate. "We're not just a case, we're a family. I'll do whatever it takes." That night he sat beside Emily, the lights low. Her strength was returning and her voice had a new certainty. "They love you," she said. "I love them," he replied. "And I love you." Emily looked at him surprised. "You're not the man I left behind. You're not the woman who walked away," he said softly. "I tried to protect them from disappointment, from you, and I'm here now, not to be perfect, just to stay." They didn't speak of the past after that, only the future, of routines and homework, of bedtime songs and birthday parties, of how love, when chosen every day, becomes unbreakable. A week later, Emily was discharged. She didn't return to her old apartment, it no longer existed. She went home with them, to his home now filled with giggles, toys under the couch, mismatched socks, and pizza stains that no one cared to clean. On a quiet Saturday morning, they had pancakes, burnt ones, of course, and took turns telling stories around the breakfast table. Sophie declared herself the family's chief cartoon critic. Ella named her stuffed bunny Mr. Pancake. Lily asked, "What happens now?" Ethan reached for Emily's hand across the table. "We live. Together. For real this time." Spring came, and with it, a backyard birthday party for 3 6-year-old girls. There were cupcakes, neighbors, a magician, and chaos. But the moment that etched itself into every heart came when Emily stood with a mic voice trembling. "Thank you for being part of the most unexpected, most beautiful second chance life could offer," she said. Then she turned to Ethan. "And thank you for finding us when we didn't even know we were lost." Later that evening, with the girls asleep in their room, wrapped in glittery crowns and confetti dreams, Ethan and Emily sat on the porch beneath string lights. "Do you ever wonder what it would have been like if we never lost touch?" she asked. He smiled, then shook his head. "We might have found each other sooner, but I don't think we'd have this. It's messy," she said. "It's ours," he finished. They sat in silence, holding hands, staring at the house behind them. Inside, taped to the fridge between crayon drawings and grocery lists, was that same picture. 5 stick figures, 1 crooked sun, and a single word that meant everything now. Let me ask you, do you believe in second chances? And what moment in this story touched your heart the most? What do you think of this story overall? If you loved it, comment note 3 below. If it was just okay, comment num 2. If you think it could have been better, go with number 1 and tell us why. Also, let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to connect with you. And if this story made you feel anything at all, please drop a heart and share it with someone who needs a reminder that sometimes love comes back when you least expect it.